Tala Falava and welcome to the Global Bus Figure Success Podcast. I'm Andrew Fa'avali, your host. Every week I'll be chatting with successful Pacific people from across the globe, unpacking their stories and more importantly, picking out insights, lessons and golden nuggets you can use to live your best life too. Well, welcome back to the Global Bus Figure Success Podcast. Today we've got a special guest all the way from Houston, Texas, making it a truly global podcast, Max Moala. Max's proudest accomplishment is being husband and father of 3 children. He studied accounting while playing football and winning a national championship in rugby at the University of Utah. Forgoing the accountant route, though, he went into sales and management where he was a top producer, taking his office from 2 million to 10 million revenue in less than 4 years. After 5 years working in corporate, he took the entrepreneur leap, quit his job in 2022, founded Uppy Investments, sold his home and moved to Texas to pursue his dream of achieving time and financial freedom through real estate investing. Within the first year, he built a $9 million real estate portfolio, co-founded a national wholesale real estate company that did near $500,000 revenue in year 1, and is the host of the Clues of Success podcast. So I just want to welcome you, Max. Thanks for joining me at 8 p.m. in Houston and taking time out from your wife and your 3 children to have this chat.
Yeah, no problem. Anything for our people. So appreciate you having me on the guest. And so let's see what we can do and how we can add value to our people and help, kind of raise the tide.
Awesome. So obviously of Tongan heritage, how did your family get from Tonga all the way over to the mainland of the States?
I think like majority of those who came back when they first started coming here, a lot of boat rides to like Fiji and New Zealand, and then they kind of made their way through Hawaii, and then my dad's family ended up in California, Hawthorne, Inglewood area, and stayed there for a little bit. And then my mom's family, they came because they were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they went to Utah, where the headquarters is at, and so that's how my mom had ended up in Utah. My dad and them dad's family ended up in California. And then the way that my parents met was my father got a full ride football scholarship at the University of Utah. My mom was also going to school at the University of Utah, and they kind of met through some mutual friends. And, a couple of years later, or maybe not even a couple of years later, maybe like a year later, my parents got married, and that's how I happened. And then I came. So.
Awesome, man. So do you guys get back to Tonga much? Obviously we're more proximate to the islands than you are in the States, but interested to know, people from the States, do you come back to Tonga much?
My family does go, extended family, like cousins, aunts, uncles. They go back every year with a group of doctors. That group is called Amanaki Fo'o, and they go back there. It's more for like charitable work as far as like health, to just help build that people. Unfortunately, I haven't gone back, man, since I was like 8 years old. And then kind of just growing up, school, playing football, sports, and then getting married. Life just got busy. I have not gone back, but I want to. I need to actually.
What's it like being Tongan in the States? Because in New Zealand, man, there's a massive population of Pacific people there. Obviously, Auckland is considered the most populous Pacific city in the world. Then here in Australia, we're about 1.3%. So there's a big drop in numbers because Australia's just bigger. So we can really feel it when we come here. There's less brown people around, but we still gravitate towards each other. What is it like where you grew up? I guess it's hard to speak for the whole of the States, but what about Utah?
Yeah. So what's funny is there's actually more Tongans outside of Tonga than inside of Tonga. There's a huge communities in all these different pockets and cities and states. And, we just kind of all just kind of flock and kind of migrate to each other. And then I'm very close with my first cousins, and, we're almost like brothers or sisters. And so my aunts are almost like my second parents. And so, man, what is it like? It's fun, and I don't know any other different because this is what I grew up with. So, but I have no complaints. I feel like I've been very blessed. I had a blessed childhood life. It was a lot of fun just having my family, and then of course I have friends that are also, the same culture. So I loved it, have no complaints. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, so your parents went to University of Utah, and I see that you went to the same university. You got into accounting. Why did you come out of school and choose accounting?
So, man, that's funny. I actually, so my mom's side of the family is very entrepreneurial, and I knew I wanted to start some type of business, so do business. I saw the lifestyle that they lived, and I wanted that, right? And so I went to accounting because I wanted to have some basic understanding of financials, of finances in business. And so I knew that I would one day have a business of my own. I wasn't sure which business, but I knew that if I had the foundation of business, which is the finance part, then I would be okay. And so that's kind of why I went the accounting route. And then after accounting, after that, after school is done, I kind of figured out, I was like, what other skill do I need to learn to have a successful and profitable business? And I was like, well, after understanding the foundation, I need to learn how to sell. So I didn't go to corporate accounting route. I went corporate and I learned how to sell. And I went kind of a sales. I started off as a recruiter, and then I got moved up. I did really well my first few months there as a recruiter, and I just kind of kept this like 100% commission mindset because that was my first job out of college, was a sales job. It was door to door or business to business, and man, it and I remember I was in Arizona, and if you don't know Arizona, it could get about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is Celsius,
I just seen
but
all those cacti,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
they
I mean,
go in
well,
hot.
it can, people can cook. People can, if you leave a frying pan outside, you can cook your egg outside without using any stove or fire. It gets really hot. And I was pretty heavy at that time because I just finished football, and then and I kept the same eating habits without working out, so I blew up really fast. I got really big. I was about 290 pounds, and I was wearing a full on suit and coat, and I was walking business to business selling. And I remember, um, my I was holding this plastic folder, and it was so hot. It was 120 degrees that my fingers were burning from holding the plastic folder. So I was like switching it from finger to finger. And so I was like, man, I stuck it out because I knew I wanted to learn the skill of selling, because I think that's probably the most underrated skill that anybody can learn, is how to sell. And it's a real skill. And so after I learned that, I figured it out. Then I was like, there's got to be something better. And I found recruiting, and it was like recruiting for a staffing agency, and where I got to increase my skill set as selling. And then I used that same kind of mindset, 100% commission, and I took off. In about 6 months, I became the top recruiter in the office, and they gave me a promotion. I kind of ran the branch, and was I became like a manager there. And so I mean that was kind of my story, kind of coming up after college, and why I chose accounting. Long answer for you.
No, no, it's a good answer because I'll come back to the skill and the science of selling because I think that's an important skill to have. Probably should teach it more in school. But when did you talked about your mother's family being entrepreneurial. When did you know? Because you said you came out to do accounting to understand finances. When did you know you were going to have a business? And what kind of molded you for that?
So, I think I had a different type of childhood growing up. I mean, so there's personal development. There's these inroads. I think the bigger ones are like Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn. There's all these individuals that just personal development, where you're talking positive affirmations. My mom and my dad would listen to those all the time, and so when I would be driving with my mother on the road, she would either be listening to those tapes, so I would have to listen to them, or if she wasn't listening to them, she was always reading books. And so when she was driving, she would have me read it to her so she can listen to it while we were driving. And so I already knew, and I got to see, like, we were very fortunate. My parents had successful businesses. I got to see that lifestyle, and I knew that's what I wanted. And so I saw other family members who had 9 to 5 jobs, and I saw their lifestyle, and I was like, and when we would go on like family vacations and reunions, and sometimes they weren't there because they had to work. And I'm like, hey, where's Uncle so and so, or where's this cousin? And I say, oh, they have to work. They couldn't get time off. I automatically knew, it was like, oh, I don't want that. Like I want to be in charge of my own time. I want to, I want to be my own boss, and I get to decide when I could take trips, when I could take time off. And so that was kind of the beginning makings of me wanting to start my own business. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so, but that's kind of where it came from. And it just, as long as I can remember, I knew I always wanted to have my own business and
So
not work for somebody else.
can you give us a little explanation around what your mum and dad's businesses were?
Yeah, at the time they had a foster agency, so they worked with the state, where these kids either they were either troubled youth or their parents couldn't handle them, or some type of problem where they were no longer able to stay inside their home. The state would take them away, and then my parents had a foster agency where they would take these kids and they would find homes. They would find homes and place these kids inside the different homes as foster kids. So
Man,
they did that. Yeah, they did that, and then they actually went into real estate after that. My mom also, like, she would also sell. She sold a lot of makeup, having these like makeup parties, all over the state of Utah. And she was a top producer with that company. So, and then they decided to go into real estate. They kind of shut down their business and went into real estate, and that was my introduction to real estate.
wow, man, we've got the same business. We deal with young people who are wards of the state, and we get their houses and we provide youth work care and stuff like that. So that's interesting. But right, like it just sounds like you had the role model, you had the environment, you had the context, and then it's created this kind of clear vision for you. You know that you want to own your time, you know that you want to be the boss, and then you've gone out and sold. Let's talk about selling, man. What did you learn on those sweltering days out there in Arizona? Trying to stay cool and trying to
you
sell.
know, I because of sports and kind of growing up, and like I said, I listened to this personal development stuff. I was pretty confident. And then when I got this first sales job, and I went there, and man, I went an entire week not making a single sale, and man, that was a slap in the face,
And
and
this is
it was
100%
very
commission. You're
humbling.
not getting a base,
It was all 100% commission,
so it's all on
so
you.
it's all on me. And man, I can't tell you. See, at this time, I was married. My wife and I, we were married. We were on our own, so it was like you eat what you kill. And so I was kind of stressy because I was like, man, like, are we gonna pay the bills bills this month? You know, and it was very humbling for me to kind of realize, like, you're not as good as you think you are. So I was like, man. So what I did is I went and I found the best salesman in the office, and I said, and I just kind of reached out and asked for help. I'm like, listen, I'm struggling. I don't know what's wrong, like where I need to improve, but can I follow you and can I shadow you and kind of see what you do differently? And it was a woman, it was a girl, and she was a beast. I mean, she would get like almost 3 to 4 sales a day. She didn't take a lunch break until she made a sale that day. And so we went out and I kind of followed her. I kind of listened to how she pitched, what she did, and I picked it up really quick. And so that afternoon I was like, okay, I think I have it. I went off and I made 2 sales that afternoon after meeting with her before lunch. And then I was kind of rolled on, where I was making 2, 3, 5 sales a single day. So
So can I just paint the picture there? So you're 100% commission. You've got no base rate. It's all on you. Like you say, what you kill is what you eat. And you're not making sales initially. You're obviously got a wife at home. We've got this innate thing that we've got to be the provider of the family as male
uh-huh.
fathers and as husbands. And it's not happening for you. So you're right in this pressure environment. At any point did you think, nah, I just got to stop this and go get a job?
No, I mean, I think because of that personal development, positive type of mindset, being very optimistic, I knew everything that was worth it was going to take time and take some sacrifice, and I knew that these skills were needed, and just because it didn't come easy, it doesn't mean that, like, I knew that I had to learn it, and so I was willing to play the long game, for a better purpose and a bigger cause, just so I can learn, and sometimes you do have to take a step back to take 10 steps forward or do forward. And so that was kind of my way. I was like, all right, I got to slow down. I got to figure this out, because I knew how important it would be in the long run.
So what did you learn from
Yeah,
this
but
lady?
it actually never crossed my, like, I think when you do, like, man, it's like, man, I have to provide. So it wasn't go get another job. It was like, I need to get better, I need to get better, and I need to do this fast.
So what did you learn from the lady that upped your ability to sell?
It was her confidence. It was the way that she pitched. It was the questions, and really, she didn't take, like, it was almost like non-negotiable. Like, you can almost say it was really pushy, but she kind of asked questions, but she didn't take the first no, the second no, the third no, like, off the bat, and just like turn around and walk out the door. When someone said no, she had rebuttals for every single objection. And then she just like, okay, like, she just get them to buy one small thing, because once you can get them to say yes immediately, then you can kind of upsell and sell for it and get even more. But she was very skillful. She was very good, but she was very intentional with her purpose of walking in that door. And because she was a single, she was very good. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is what you're doing. And once I figured it out, I think women can be a little bit more pushier, because there's something about being, I don't know, like, we're people are just a little bit more open to them. So I had to figure that out for myself, and just kind of make my own little twist and flavor to it. And so once I did, I was like, um, I think Polynesians we're able to build relationships and build rapport fairly quickly,
So
and we
then
can use
it's,
humor.
so then it's the strategy of selling, because you just talked about rebuttals, but for those who don't know, like on the process to make a sale, you should really have a scope and know what kind of rebuttals are going to come at you, or why
Hmm.
people are going to say no, and then have a way to kind of counter that and then lead them back into the path of the sale. So did you
Yeah,
have this plan? It's kind of like you played rugby at Utah. You have to have a game plan. So did you have this game plan around all the possibilities in terms of rebuttals that you might come up with, how you were going to twist them back into the path and stuff like
yeah,
that?
yeah. And that was really great about that company that I worked with. They had, honestly, I think they probably had some of the best sales training that I could have asked for, because they got you really prepared for selling without even thinking that, because we played a lot of games, but the games were like competition game, like it was practicing pitching. There were all the, it's like, okay, what's the biggest objections that you're gonna have, or what's gonna be the main reason why people don't buy from you? And we had all the list of all the different reasons, and then we like, okay, what are going to be those things, those rebuttals, or how are we going to overcome all of these objections? And there was so many different skills, and I didn't realize it, that there was like so many different sales tactics or psychology or things that are just like figuring out like how it worked. And so we can kind of figure out, okay, what type of personality are we speaking to, and how do we sell or pitch this personality? And you can figure out their personality by the types of questions that you're asking, by their demeanor, by just all of these different things. And it got very interesting. And for me, it became like a game. And I'm like, man, I need to figure out this game, because I need to win this game. And I loved winning. From playing from sports, you just naturally kind of almost build this competitive mindset. And so that's kind of how I kind of took it.
So that the role where you took your office from, your office went from 2 to 10 mil?
Say that again.
Is that the role in which your office turned
Yep.
over 2 mil to 10 mil, like
Yeah.
500 times
Yeah.
or five
Yeah.
times? 5 times.
Yeah. So when I had started as a recruiter. So, but and so each recruiter had their own salesperson. So there was a guy who would go out there and he would go get sales, and his job was to go get some orders or some recs or some requisitions, things that we could fill. And my job was to just go find these individuals that can go and fill all the different roles that he got from his
Yeah.
sales job. And so there was a time where he like I didn't feel like my sales guy that I was feeding guys for was working hard enough. So I started like every time I would talk to an individual and I see a company that we didn't work with, I would start getting their phone numbers, and then I would call those people myself and set up appointments for my sales guy So I'm like, hey, listen, here's another meeting. You need to go to this meeting and go get some more recs for us. Like, you need to go more stuff. So I was not only recruiting for him, but I was also setting up appointments for him to go meet with and get more clients for us. And then I just did a lot of things where I was like, and then there were so many people that were applying to our jobs that didn't fit the scope of work, or they didn't have the right skill set. Like, our staffing agency was very, very niche. It was like low voltage electrical, and I had never heard about this stuff.
Yeah.
But we were looking for these guys who can perform these type of jobs. And I was getting guys that were like Pizza Hut drivers, they were pizza delivery drivers. I'm like, they have zero skill. And I kept deleting their resume. And then it clicked, I was like, man, like, we could teach these guys. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, why don't we start a training program and teach them how to just do the basic skills of what this is, like pulling cable, and in these offices, you just have all this cable, all the low voltage that needs to be pulled. So I'm like, why don't we teach these guys how to pull cable, and we can teach them how to have site safety, and we can give them some basic tools, but we can equip them because they're going to be very inexpensive, very cheap. And then our delta, what we're going to be charging these companies, there's going to be a pretty good delta, so we can make a pretty good profit from these guys. And so I started bringing in every single person. Like, if you applied to my job, I brought you in for an interview and I put you into a training class. And like like within a month I had 20 trainees, and I was like, we put them all to work, because it was in our pitch was like, hey, these guys are young, they're moldable, they're trainable, they're not going to have any bad habits, and he's a pizza delivery driver, so he has a reliable vehicle, and that was a very easy sale. It's like, oh, this guy's pretty cheap, so we'll take him. So man, and I just built it off all these trainee guys, and nobody else had figured that out. And I'm like, so I actually, yeah, we started a training program, and it was just I was just kind of always thinking outside the box and figuring out ways that I can help generate more revenue for our office. And then
Uh,
that's how it
and,
kind of happened when I got promoted.
and that's the essence of entrepreneur. It's that you see a problem, you go and make the solution. Like, you were at this part of the funnel, you were trying to recruit people. You saw that there was a bit of a bottleneck on the other side in terms of placement of people and getting other kind of clients in. And then you saw that, oh man, actually the numbers are there. We just need to upskill them and get them to a level to go. And that's how you've five times the top line of that company. So what happened after that? Did you go to another one, or was that when because you're in real estate now? So what was after that sales job?
Yeah. So I actually had gone to another staffing company. And the biggest reason why I left that other staffing company was, one, they gave like a pretty good pay, and that one was like a salary. Uh, and so I had went to that one, but it was, the biggest reason was just a step away from that previous company. I was there for about 5 years, and I needed to get away. It wasn't kind of a culture that I wanted to be a part of. I could see that it was changing me. It was very, very stressful. It was very high demand. And so that was actually during COVID 2020, where our CEO, he had cut half of the staff. He fired, basically, if you there was like a 50%, and if you were 50% and less as far as performance and far as producing results, you were automatically fired. And luckily at the time I was like around two or three. I was like the top two or three in the company. So my position was safe, but it's still, it didn't sit well with me, and I just hated having that stress of that fear of just like, man, this guy's a loose cannon. I could lose my job at any time, which was kind of a big reason of why I always want to start my own company. So I went to another company. I loved it there, and I think it was a great transition for me to see, because the CEO of that company was like, I could not have asked for a better example of a leader that could have a great culture, great positive like culture. They were all about collaboration over competition. She just gave so much, and she was like so helpful. I got to see the complete opposite of what a successful leader could do in that same position, without like yelling at people and threatening to fire them and doing all this stuff. Because that other company was like all top producers, very, very, it was like the step up of where I was at previously, where everyone was like amazing at what their job was. And so I went there, and I think it was a good transition for me, just to kind of see. I think everything happens for a reason, right? So I was able to kind of see what that type of leader can do with a different type of mindset, and how she motivated people and how she led people to produce results without all that fear mongering. And so um, I was there for exactly 1 year, and then I made the entrepreneurial leap, started my own company, Oppie Investments. And so, we um, it's a real estate investment firm. We buy multifamily, what you call looking for hotels as well. And so that was kind of the step.
Cool. So tell us about Uppy. So this is your foray then into entrepreneurship. This is your company. Just before that, so the company where you had a really good CEO, is that the thing that took you to Texas, or did you go to Texas on the back? Are there tax breaks there for entrepreneurs, or why did you end up in Houston?
So why I made to Texas? I had a lot more connections in the real estate space. I wanted to learn apartments, buying apartments. Um, I didn't know anyone who everything is all about single family residential, just these residential homes.
Mm,
But see, what I didn't tell you guys is, and back in 2008 in the recession, when my parents were in real estate, they had lost everything, like
mm.
everything. So all of the stuff that they had built, their portfolio, all the money that they were making from real estate, lost it all. And so I was able to see that lifestyle of when it was good in real estate, but then I was able to see the bad when they lost everything. And the what I took from it is, one, I wanted to do real estate, but two, I didn't want to do single family residential. Or I would have some residential, but I didn't want that to be to be the main part of my portfolio. And so I saw apartments as a way to still provide somebody that people are always going to need. People are still going to always need a place to live, but it's going to be a lot safer than residential. So, instead of one house and one tenant, you have 100 unit complex. You lose one, you still have 99 other people that are still living there. They have 99 other streams of revenue that are still coming in. So that's why I went to multifamily. It was a really good friend. He was a mission companion of mine. He was already investing in multifamily or in apartments. And so I moved here to Texas to just be kind of just throw myself in the fire. I think it's very difficult for me to kind of just focus on multiple things at one time. Obviously, we had some money saved. We sold one of our homes, so we had this margin of cash just in case things didn't work out to get some other deals. And then I also started co-owned another company that could help bring some additional income in while I was looking for a deal, because it's a very, very long game. Multifamily investing, it's very long to find a deal, to close on the deal, and then you have to like turn around and try to fix it and increase rents to start getting some actual real cash flow from that too. So that's kind of why I moved to Texas.
So can we just understand this multi-family? So you're saying you're getting out like pretty much a property developer. You're getting blocks of units, where many families can live. That requires quite a bit of capital investment up front, eh?
Hmm. Yeah. So what we do, we call it syndications.
Yeah.
And so those who aren't aware of syndication, basically it's a pool of funds. So here in the States, when you're buying a home, usually you'll have to put down on a traditional investment loan or a traditional loan, you're gonna have to put down 20 to 25% of the purchase price, and then the bank will fund the other 75%. Well, it's the same thing when you're buying a multifamily investment. You still have to put down 20-25%, and then the bank will lend the other 75%. In syndications is what I'll pull a bunch of investors. These are people that are, that have additional cash, and maybe want all the benefits of real estate without having to be very active in real estate. So we'll partner. I'll find the deals. We'll partner. They'll just invest a portion of the money, and I'll have, 10 to 20 investors. They'll all throw in some money, and then we buy it together. And so we kind of bring that pool together to put down the 25% to own it. And so, and then we'll kind of split up the portions. Obviously, a majority of the equity and the cash flow will go to them as the investors, since they put up the capital. And then, I'll get a little bit portions from like turning up the business, managing the units, all these things. And so, and then we kind of split it that way.
What's the value of an average property or multi-family kind of block?
It all depends on a number of things. One, multifamily, the way that it's valued, it's valued like business, and the way that they value businesses or multifamily is, or any other commercial real estate, is based on the amount of money on the NOI or the revenue or the cash flow that it's generating. And so everything is based off cash flow. And so based on that, there's like an equity, or there's like a multiple that it's all worth, or so that's how it's valued. That's why I like commercial real estate, is because in regular residential, there's appreciation, right? So throughout time, everything appreciation, your home can go up in value. Sometimes it'll go down, but not very likely. It's not, I don't think it's going to happen again. But in commercial real estate, there's something called forced appreciation, where you can you can add value, where you can take a look at a property and you can see that there's some mismanagement in operations. You can help cut some expenses, so it takes you a lot less money to operate it, and then you can increase the rent, or you can look for other ways to just generate some revenue. Maybe you can charge pet fees, you can charge parking lot spaces, you can help. There's a rent utility bill back system where you can now split the cost for utility bills. So you're increasing all these different ways to increase revenue. So then your cash flow is just skyrocketing, or it's going a lot more. And when you can do that, you can increase your value of that property just a whole lot more. So
Sounds like a
um
business to business acquisition, kind of the same, where you have to
yeah,
go
yeah,
into it, you go and do a turnaround, or you do an uplift. So
yep.
that requires a vast amount of skills. Obviously, I know that in acquisitions and mergers, we're looking at the people, we're looking at the processes, and then we're looking at the product. And
Hmm.
those are the main things. How did you, if you go into one of these and you look at those three things, that requires that really vast skill set, knowing what the processes are. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the process. Maybe the people who are doing it aren't being efficient. Man, how did you get that scope of knowledge to go in and do a turnaround like that?
Yeah, that so the way that I had done my first deal was I obviously you can kind of see, and it sounds pretty complicated buying these multifamily investments, because there's a lot of due diligence. There's a lot of things, that moving parts and pieces. I had joined a coaching program just because, one, I needed to learn it a lot faster. So you can pay for it in two ways. You can pay for it with money, or you can pay for it with time. And I didn't have the time, but I had some money, so I paid for a coaching program. Obviously, I had done due diligence, and I looked at multiple different coaching programs within the space, and I went with the one that felt best for me. And then within that coaching program, there were other students, there were some coaches in there, and they had the experience. And so I didn't want to risk losing investors' money. So I went with someone who already had experience, who had owned thousands of units, who had sold thousands of units, and was able to prove they had a great track record. And so I kind of showed myself that I can bring value to them. And so there was an opportunity. They brought up a deal. They said they needed some money to help, kind of like an equity partner. So I was able to just help raise some capital for that deal to get in. And my I kind of had I told them, I was like, listen, I know if you want my help, I only want ask for one thing. Can I be on the asset management team? Because I need to learn how to manage the asset, you know. And I feel like that's a very, very important skill. And so they said, yeah, if you can help bring some equity, some cash to this, help bring some money for this deal, you can have a spot in the asset management team, and I can kind of give you a little bit more training. And so that's uh that's kind of how I learned it, was just like kind of just learning it from them, like being hands on. And I'm still learning it today. So I still don't know everything today, but I'm a lot well more versed today than I was. Sheesh, it was only 18 months ago when I had
Right,
started
man.
this myself.
So I've got a couple of questions, man. You say it kind of flippantly. I had to go get investors, bro. That's not easy, eh?
No,
Did you find
no,
them, and how
no.
did you sell them across?
It friends and family. That was how we were able to raise the money. And like we're talking about raising money. My very first time raising money, like I said, I had a mission companion who was already in multifamily investing, and it's the only time that he's actually, well, no, but this time he was kind of in a bind, and he asked me, he was like, "Hey Max, I need $1.7 million. Can you help me?" And I said, "Yeah, I got this." The same mindset I had when I started my sales job. I was like, "Yeah, man, I could do this." And I had access to people who had capital, and so I was like, yeah, I could do this. And so um, I made a couple phone calls and set up some meetings. And turns out I didn't raise a single penny, like not a single dollar. And I was like, man, that was a big slap in the face. And so I then realized that there was a lot more that went into just raising capital than just asking for money. So the next time when I did raise this capital for this deal, I kind of had taken a lot. I remembered that whole experience, and so I came a lot more correct. I came more prepared as far as understanding the deal, understanding what the returns are. So if they were to invest X amount, this is what your return investment would be. And so, and then I leveraged the experience. So I had a whole like pitch deck ready this time. Last time it was just like talking to each other, like,
Hey,
hey, you
bro.
want to invest $1.7 million? They go, okay, like, does this property even exist? Like, am I just gonna give it to you and you're gonna run off? I'm like, come on, man, you know me forever. Like, I'm good for it.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, sorry, man, we're gonna have to pass. And so but this next time, like I had pictures of the property, I did a whole market research of why it was going to be a good investment. There's a whole diversity as far as employee diversity. So there's all these different industries that So if any one industry got hit, they're still going to be taken care of. Like oh, here's what the current rents are. Here's what the other rents are around the neighborhoods costs, and so we can force appreciate with like increasing the rents. And so like here's the team that we're working with. They're going to manage the asset. Here's his experience, and so it just it was very hard for someone to say no, like, oh man, that's a good deal, you've done a lot of homework, you did your due diligence. It's like it just made them feel a lot more at ease when they're letting go of their hard-earned money.
I love that, man. I'm interested in mergers and acquisitions, and I'm trying to get into masterclasses and stuff like that. But I just love the uplift and the turnaround and the potential that you can do if you get it right, and then especially in the group model where you just bolt on different things that value add to the group. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome, man. Tell me about Uppy Investments. How did you name it? What is your goal for it? Obviously, you've done pretty good turnover in your first. It's quite early in the journey, so let us know about Uppy.
Yeah, so I mean, I had all these different names. I think trying to figure out a name for your company is always can be a little tricky, but I named it Api Investments because Api just means home in Tongan. And I wanted something that my kids would just understand, like, hey, we're proud of our culture, we're proud of who we are as Tongans. We're not going to be afraid and name it. Some other name, yeah, there probably could be other marketable more names, but we wanted something that we would be proud of, that we could be happy with, that could be kind of who we are. And so it's just Api Investments. It just kind of means home in Tongan. That's really how we came up with it.
What's your vision? What's your vision for it?
I mean, it's just continue to keep growing. Adding value to find good investments, safe investments. There's always going to be some type of risk with any type of investment, right? But real estate's always a long game, and I think and it's you have this like solid asset, tangible asset that you can invest it in versus like stocks. Primarily you look at multifamily over a long period of time. It's one of the safest and best investments, and so like our goal, in 10 years we want to maybe we'll I mean get over like $1 billion and have that $1 billion portfolio, and just want to just be able to just provide good safe homes for families and just like good safe investments for people, these people who have all this extra cash, and help them. You get all the benefits. Those who aren't familiar with real estate, here the benefits of it are, one, it's depreciable. Here in the States, we have to pay taxes, right? But if you can do depreciation, that's a way of like almost showing that you can count less. We take that as a paper loss, so you don't have to pay as much taxes. If you're familiar, those who talk about like Donald Trump, he never showed his tax returns. Well, because he was a real estate guy. This guy's making billions of dollars, and he's probably paying less taxes than someone who's making $100,000.
Hmm.
That's how crazy it can be because of depreciation. It's appreciable, which means the value is going to appreciate and go up. It's the taxes are deferrable, which means you can defer taxes. So you can sell a property here. You can sell a property, and the taxes. No, typically you have to pay capital gains tax.
Yeah.
But there's different rules or tax laws where you can defer having to pay those taxes. So you can defer it by buying another property. So you don't have to pay any taxes on these gains, and you can just buy another property. And so those are probably the biggest benefits of real estate. And so when I partner with these people, individuals, they're investing in all these things. They're getting the depreciation, they're getting the appreciation, they're getting the deferred tax or the tax write-offs for these things without having to be. It's very, very passive. It's all hands off for them. They'll get the monthly newsletters, the updates on what the property is doing. They'll get pictures. And then, they always have my cell phone, so they can always call me anytime or text me to ask any questions and concerns. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
the vision.
Cool, man. So yeah, 1 billion, you got to name it and you got to claim it and you got to go after it. But this seems like a win-win-win because investors are getting returns, you're making business out of it, families are getting homes as well. So it's like it's actually, it feels a little bit altruistic in that everyone's getting wins and
Yeah,
and outcomes that they're after.
Yeah, of course, there is some like tougher parts of of it, because sometimes there's families that probably they're not paying their rent, and so we'll help them to try to get some there's like assistance from the government, but then sometimes they're just not paying because then they just unfortunately there's not everyone who's very honest, and so we do have to make those tough decisions to like evict families because obviously it's either your family's not eating or sometimes it's not going to be my family that's eating. And so I mean, as far as our investors and those things, so that's kind of the toughest part is trying to figure out like at what point do we pull the trigger to try to evict a family. It's never fun, or even firing people too. It's never fun, but it's something that has to be done. And as far as a business owner, you have to make those tough decisions.
Cool. So we've got a really good picture of your journey to success. Obviously, you were raised around people who were really entrepreneurial. They did well. They learned some lessons as well through global kind of financial crisis. But then you've come out and you've just been really inquisitive and curious and not ashamed to ask for help. I think that's a thing that's going through. You asked that lady, you've gone and asked your mission companion, you've moved to Houston. You also do the Clues of Success podcast. So I just want to kind of finish on this. What are the clues of success that have been left behind in your trail? I know you're still young and I know you're still early on.
Yeah.
Gonna make it to a billion, but what's the clues?
Yeah. It's the willingness and the being open to failure and being okay with failure. I mean, I showed you like there was many times where I failed. I completely failed, where didn't make a single sale or I didn't raise a single dollar. But I didn't let those failures kind of like determine who I was as a person. I knew I was better than that. I just needed to work on some skills, right? And so uh it and if you look at it in life, the only way to succeed is you have to fail forward. There's John C. Maxwell. He says if a person truly wants to move ahead, get ahead in life and go after what they want, they need to learn how to fail forward, fail often, fail fast, fail often, and fail forward. So you can the these successful people that you see who have the life or the things that you want, the only reason why is because they were willing to go out there and fail, and they failed a lot. They just have a lot more failures. They took a lot more no's. They were able to just take these things and not let it stop them from going after what they really wanted, and they had probably bigger reason why or purpose of why they were going after these things that made it non-negotiable that they weren't going to stop at the when it got hard, because there's going to be setbacks. Life is going to get hard, right? And so, but if you're willing to push past those things, you can have everything you want in life. And so I think Zig Ziglar had said it. You can have everything you want in life if you can help enough people get what they want. And so I do like the mindset of being a go-giver, but so as far as my clues of my success is, one, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is part of the journey of success, but then just show up every single day. It's hard being your own boss because sometimes you can be a crappy boss and that makes you a crappy employee. So I show up like it is a job. I have the same 100% commission. I have a family that I need to take care and feed. I got investors who are counting on me to get them a return. And so, and then, it's just showing up to work every single day. It's being consistent and just doing what you say you're going to do.
Awesome, man. I'll leave it there because you got a family to go back to. But I really appreciate your story. I appreciate the fact that you've told a story where you like the pressure cooker, you walk towards the pressure, and you know that you're going to come out as a winner. I can see the success and the journey that's going to unfold ahead because you've done those things like fail fast, fail often, and fail forward. And so, just wish you all the best. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on this show. And I'll, put in the show notes info about the Clues of Success podcast, Uppy Investments, and your LinkedIn and your socials and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here to kind of share the story, and hopefully this resonates with someone out there to go out there and just go after the life that you want. You don't need permission from anybody. We're all sons and daughters of God, and we're meant for greatness. And so it's already in you. We have this innate ability, and just believe in yourself and go do it and go get it.
Well, there you have it. What a great chat. Max seems pretty laid back for a dude who's pulled off some massive moves, from knowing nothing about selling and falling flat with zero outcomes to humbling himself and asking for help from those who were doing better than him. He's become a top seller, and he's then jumped out of his job, moving his whole family, selling his house just to get amongst multi-family investing, property development and management. Maloa Pito Max, props to you, your wife, your parents, everyone who's contributed to making you the successful man you are. I'm sure that you'll have more successes, more failures, and just more fun. We've been blessed by your story. That's us for this week. If you can please do us a favor, like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to them, and follow us on all socials, LinkedIn, Insta, TikTok, and Facebook. Our handle is Manawise Group, all one word. That'll be much appreciated. Cool. Have a great week, and God bless you all.